Did you know about 25 minutes away is a hidden treasure? It's the Santa Ana Zoo at Prentice Park. We took a tour with the zoo's director, Ethan Fisher, to hear all about the 50 monkey rule, the Crean family farm, the zoo's renovation plans, and so much more. Come inside with us as we explore the Santa Ana Zoo. I have Ethan Fisher here, and we are at Amazon's Edge, and behind us are some howler monkeys. So we heard all the noise they were just making. Explain what they're doing.
Sure. So every morning the howler monkeys come out into their habitat and they want to announce their territory. And the way they do that is they have this loud howling sound that they make. They actually have a special adaptation in their vocal system that allows them to make that deep howling sound that would permeate through the rainforest habitat if they were in the wild. So that's what we're hearing there. They're a pretty unique species. They have two color forms. So the males are that black color phase, and then the females are the tawny brown color in the juveniles. And as they mature, they will transition into the black color phase. So we have them out here on Amazon's Edge. We're in the process of doing a major exhibit renovation to this habitat in the next year or so. And it'll be a really unique habitat because we're putting in a trail system so the monkeys will be able to move around this space and actually come closer to the guests.
Okay, so closer to the guests. Now, the only thing that's separating us from the howler monkeys right now is the water, right?
That is true. So right now they live on a island with a moat in front of them because they're not fans of the water. They don't like swimming. They're even sort of wimps when it comes to the rain. They like to stay inside when it rains. But the trail system will be a meshed in tube where the animals can safely move throughout a larger habitat zone.
Okay. All right. So now if I was out in the wild, I'd hear this. So places like where?
You might find them in Central or South America. There's a number of species of howler monkeys. This is the black howler monkey, which would be from northern Brazil, Uruguay, some of the South American countries. There's also red howler monkeys and mantled howler monkeys. So there's a number of different species, but they range throughout Central and South America. So this exhibit, Amazon's Edge, is going to undergo a dramatic transformation in the next 2 years. We have a plan to develop a new habitat for giant river otters, which are a critically endangered species of otter from South America. And they're also the largest species of freshwater otter. Everyone knows the fluffy sea otter that we have along the California coastline. They are a little bit different than that. They're sleeker looking, but they're taller, they're longer, and very, very loud animals. So we're going to transform this exhibit, since it has such a large water system in it, into a really unique habitat for the otters, even with the underwater viewing area where you can look at the otters swimming around through an acrylic panel. So they'll have that. They'll have an area where there's a waterfall and a stream and more landscaping. So that's the plan for the otters. And then in addition to that, we still want to have a home for the howler monkeys here in Amazon's Edge. So we've developed a novel trail system and new habitat space around this waterway for the howler monkeys. And that's unique because the monkeys will be able to move 360 degrees around this entire space. They'll be able to look down at the otters, look at the people. They won't be in the same habitat space because you can't put them together. But they'll have a large meshed in enclosure. And then where we're standing right now, we're planning to put a unique enrichment area for the animals. So that would be a specially designed area, possibly with a feeder tree or some other elements that the zookeepers that take care of the animals can put novel food items or do special training demonstrations, something that keeps the animals' minds actively engaged and the environment changing on a regular basis. So we like to say, as with the new trail system, the animals will have the ability to move around the zoo, and for the people, the zoo is now moving around them.
Oh yeah, now we're actually behind the gate, so normally you wouldn't be this close to the water, but there are some vantage points that you guys can you know, go to and be a little bit closer. But we're a little closer this time, and man, you know, the water's right here, and that's the only thing separating us and then the howler monkeys. So I feel very fortunate to be here. You know, the water system is, you know, you got to keep that pretty clean.
We do, and this exhibit did open originally in 1993, so it's been a few years that the system has been operating, and one of the challenges we have is with maintaining this water system. So that was a driving force in the redesign of this habitat for the otters, because we want to completely revamp the water filtration system and make it as pristine as possible for the animals.
Well, something that you definitely will have to look for in the next 2 years. Okay, well, we're going to move on to our next exhibit.
So right now we're standing at the Tierra de las Pampas exhibit. This is our anteater habitat, where we have a pair of giant anteaters, the largest anteater species in the world. Also, the one with the longest tongue. Their tongue is about 18 inches long, and they use that because they have no teeth to harvest ants and termites in their native habitat of South America. Here at the Santa Ana Zoo, we make it a little bit easier on the animals, and they don't have to forage for termites all day long. They would potentially eat up to 35,000 of them in a day. We make an anteater smoothie, which is a combination of a commercially formulated diet mixed with hard-boiled eggs, papaya, spinach, banana, and water. That all goes into a blender and is given to them as a smoothie. So they eat that instead of eating 35,000 ants and termites a day. But they are a very, very unique species we have at the Santa Ana Zoo. There's also tie-in to the local university, University of California, Irvine, whose mascot happens to be Peter the giant anteater. So we have them here. Sometimes we have babies. We've had a number of offspring since this exhibit opened in 2007. 2010. And when the babies ride around, after they ride around on the parents' back after they're born, they sort of like a little backpack. Oh, here comes Peter.
Oh, there he is. Look at him.
Oh,
he
just was in the water too.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, they do like the water.
Oh, he's adorable.
And he looks wet.
Oh, hi. Look at him. He wants to come. He wants a smoothie. Oh, look at him. I don't think I've ever been this close. Wow, you know, look at that hair. Is that pretty coarse?
They do have pretty coarse hair, and there's another anteater out there.
Way over there.
And they also have a very large fan-like tail, which they use to cover themselves. They'll lay down they'll sort of curl up in a depression in the ground, and then lay their tail down over the top of them. So when you can imagine when they're in a grassy savanna and there's grass that's 2 or 3 feet high, the anteater completely disappears and no one could find it.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. How old are the anteaters that are here?
They're about 15 years old.
Okay.
And they can live into their early 20s. That's typical for the natural history of this species.
Okay. Now, I know you said there were a couple of babies, but they're not here now. Where did they go?
So the babies are all the anteaters are part of a conservation program, and the babies have gone off to other zoos to start their own families. And right now we have an anteater that went to the Dallas Zoo, the San Antonio Zoo, and also the Fresno Zoo. And one of them has actually had its own baby at this point. So they are a vulnerable species in the wild. They're part of a conservation program in North America, and we work to learn more about the animals and conserve their habitats.
Well, Peter the anteater, I love it. And I like the fact that they're just roaming the earth.
They are. They're amazing animals, and they just sort of go around their habitat and they smell things and explore and dig and climb, and that's what they do every day.
Pretty simple.
Pretty simple.
All right. Oh, here he comes again.
Oh, they're in the water.
Oh, they are in the water.
Yep. Let's see if they'll go back.
50 monkeys at all times is the motto here at the Santa Ana Zoo, and we're on Monkey Row, and Ethan's going to tell us a little bit about the 50 monkeys.
So that is true. We are supposed to have 50 monkeys at all times, and that is because the original donor of Prentice Park, he specified that in the deed that we would have 50 monkeys at all times. He was a fan of monkeys, and he wanted to provide the community with a park, with a nice small zoo, and he did specify that. So we are the Santa Ana Zoo at Prentice Park, and we do have a lot of species of primates from throughout Central and South America, Africa, and Asia. We have large primates like gibbons, all the way down to really small primates like the pygmy marmoset, which is basically a monkey that can fit in the palm of your hand. Right now, we have about 18 species represented at the zoo, and it's a great resource not only for visitors to the zoo, but also for the local universities and colleges, which send many students to the zoo as part of their anthropology programs. And going forward, we've just started a new 20-year master plan for the zoo, and this area, the older primate habitats, that is going to be a key area that we focus on going forward, and putting in some very dynamic new habitats for the primates that we have here at the zoo.
Now, we are standing in front of tamarins, right?
We are.
Tell me a little bit about how cute they are, and I know somebody was asking, are they pet legal?
So none of the monkeys at the zoo are pet legal. You're not allowed to have pet monkeys in California. The species that we're standing in front of, the golden-headed lion tamarin, is a critically endangered species from the rainforests in Brazil. They're part of a conservation program. All of the primates we have at the zoo are part of conservation programs where we work with other zoos to maintain the population and learn more about the animals that we have here, and then also more about them in the wild. So we have a large family of golden-headed lion tamarins. They're very small monkeys, so they only weigh about 700 grams, so maybe a pound and a half. And they live in a family group. A really unique thing about the golden-headed lion tamarin is when they have a birth, they tend to have twins. They will sometimes have a single birth or a triplets, but the majority of the time they will have twins. And they could have twins one to two times per year.
Okay.
So.
Excellent. Well, excellent. Well, thank you so much for spending all this time with us here at the Santa Ana Zoo. I think we've learned a lot, and hopefully our community will come on out and either volunteer or have some fun.
Great. We look forward to having everyone come and visit.
All right. Thank you again.